Tanya with Artsy Solutions, and I have some folders I want to show you, not folders, but envelopes I want to show you that I made. And every last one of these are literally from junk mail, like original envelopes. So, and they're going to go in my behind the doors junk journal that I'm still working on it. I'll just kind of give you a sneak peek of this is going to fit inside, but I had a problem. This is going to go down in here. However, this is bending over because of the weight of the bulk of this book that I'm still not finished completing. But yeah, so hopefully this is going to match. These envelopes that I just made are going to match. So let me go ahead and put this back up and out of the way. And when this is complete, I'll finally show you everything. That's like a lap book, scrapbook, junk journal. It's something. It's huge. But anyway, so like I said, I made these out of original envelopes, just junk mail. And basically all I did is super duper simple. Some of them had words and stuff on them, and I just kind of sanded them down. I did some stamping on them, stitching around the edges. And this is the first one. And you can see the paper from where I had the paper. This envelope, when I had opened it, it was torn, so I had to kind of correct it by adding another piece of paper on there. And so I just went on ahead and let it show through, because to me it kind of makes it look pretty good. I like it. So, and then you have, and I just stitched this paper on and distressed it and everything. And then you can see through here, it's just fabric. So, the fabric envelope on the inside. So that's the first one. And then the second one is really similar to the first one, only the fabric's on the outside, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, it's just junk mail, and I just left that as is, you know, the check here if address is new. And then just did some stamping. I used the Tim Holtz, the Professor 2 stamp. And you can see there's a book page that you can see through the window, and then I did some stitching around the edges. So when you flip it over, I added some fabric to the back, and I just stamped on the fabric. And I had disassembled it before I added all that stuff on there. And then I just added a book page on the inside. Real simple, like super duper easy. This is one of my easier projects, except for until I get to the end of this one, and I'll tell you about in a second. And then you have this one, and basically everything that's on here, that was original, this is original, the stamp is original. I need to change that 15 right there. Maybe no one will notice it, but it was 2015. But yeah. So then this flips over like so, and like I said, it's for Detective Style, which is my behind the doors journal. And this flips, this tucks down in here, and this lifts up like that. And then you have your opening, and this is literally just the envelope. All I did was just peeled off one of the labels, I think on this one, and you know, sanded down where the label was at, and just did some stamping around it, you know, just some background stamping, some stitching. I did a little bit of embossing too, heat embossing, like this one right here, because it didn't show real well, so I just took it, and then I took my the Ranger emboss it pen and just kind of went around some of this stuff on here. I don't know if I did it on this one, but I did it on something. Anyway, so we have heat embossing, and I use various stamps and stuff just to get this image. So that's that one. And this one was pretty much the same way too, and like I said, I just peeled off the labels, did a little bit of sanding, stamping, and then heat embossing. And I didn't quite get to stitch around this one like I wanted to, because something went wrong with my sewing machine, and I don't know what I did with it, but I messed it up like a lot. Anyway, I got frustrated and I was just like, I'm over it. So all I did was just take a pen and an embossing. I took a ballpoint pen and made some marks, you know, like stitch marks. And then I went back over it with this embossing pen and added some detail embossing powder by Recollections, and then just simply embossed it. And that way it kind of looks like it's stitched a little bit, you know. It's not perfect, but whatever. And then I added this eyelet in here. I created this little closure, and my whole goal was to cover, after I had put this down in here, I wanted to cover up the area where it's sealed, and that's why I was trying to stitch around it to make sure that it stays on here. But yeah, my sewing machine kind of messed up. So, but anyway, it still turned out kind of decent, I guess. You know, it's rugged looking, and hopefully it'll match my journal. I still got the closure I gotta come up with, because I ended up making, my pages were longer than the cover, so I had to add these on here. But anyway, this video isn't about this. I just had one of those days when things just didn't go right. So, but anyway, enough of my little pity party. So let me go ahead and show you guys how I made this. So I have a bunch of envelopes that I gotten from junk mail, and I'm just going to use these in my Behind the Doors journal. And basically all I'm going to do is just, I've got some sandpaper that I've gotten from the Dollar Tree, and they come in different grits, and like I said, it's from the Dollar Tree. I don't know which specific grit you have to use, like P80 or 150, or I don't know, just a piece of sandpaper. And I'm also going to use some inks. And on this particular one, I know with this one, it feels like a paper bag, so it's a little bit thicker than like this one right here, this envelope. I'm just going to be sanding this down, like some of the words and symbols that are like modern day, things that they didn't have back in the day, printed on their envelopes. So I'm just going to sand the words off. Now, even if there's still a hint of words left on there, that's fine, because that kind of gives it some texture. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm just going to leave that here and that, but I am going to sand this off, and I'm also going to disassemble it as best I can. Hopefully I won't mess it up, because what my goal is after I sand this down, I want to put this fabric over top of it and then stitch along the edge. But we're going to see. So like I said, I'm just going to carefully disassemble this. And I'm just going to try to take those words off without messing the paper up, because the paper is pretty thin. So I was able to get some of it, but I ended up getting a hole in it, and that's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this over and take a piece of paper. Actually, I'm just going to get an old book page and put over top of that, and then I'm going to cut it out. So I want to make sure that it's going to fit completely, and I want the words to show through here. So I'm just going to cut it down right here. Is this 1 or 2 pages? Feels thick. I guess it's just 1. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to make sure that the words are going to show through here, through the window. And I'm not going to really worry too much about cutting these other sides because it's just going to get glued anyway. So I'm just going to, let's see which one's the biggest, add some glue using my glue stick. I'm going to add this to on here, and then I'm going to put this on here. Okay, and then, well, I probably shouldn't have put any glue right there, but that's fine, because I can reuse this on something else. So I'm just going to kind of cut around the shape of the envelope. You should probably let this completely dry first, but for time's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it down. And then what I'm going to do while this is still open is I'm just going to paint over that just a little bit. I'm just going to take a little bit of white paint. You can use acrylic, whatever you want to use. This is just some plain old, this is acrylic white paint. And I'm just going to kind of go over the writing so that it's not so dark when I put the fabric over top of it. I'm just going to kind of I'm going to give it 2 coats and let it kind of dry in between. And I placed this down so that this wouldn't get melted, the plastic, because I've done this before, and of course I melted the plastic. So yeah, so just be careful, just be leery of it. Okay, so I've got that in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and distress it, this envelope, the whole envelope. And the good thing about this, adding on the paper and painting it, it makes the paper sturdier once it dries. So I think I got this too close, so I'm just going to tear just a little bit of it off at the fold. It's fine because you're not going to be able to see it on the inside anyway. I shouldn't have put it down that close. I should have known better. Down in there, which is fine. Like I said, as long as you can see the words on the inside, that's all that really matters. So when I fold this over, I just want to make sure it's not going to bend or anything like that. Alright, so I'm just going to distress around the edge. Even though I am going to cover this up with fabric on one side, I'm still going to distress it anyway. Okay, and then now I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch this on first. Actually, yeah, we'll put this like that. Yeah, put this like this. I might just add just a tad bit of glue. It's Craft Bond transparent. I'm just going to use a little bit of this glue that I got the other day, just to kind of hold this in place. I don't know how well it's going to do with fabric, but hopefully the stitches will cover that up. I just want to be able to keep it here in place. Because I've got to trim, oops, my finger got stuck. Because I have to trim going across here. So, let me just go ahead and add a little bit around here too. I hadn't planned on gluing it at all, but I feel like I need it to, so I can know where to cut it at. Alright. So then I'm just going to cut around these edges of the fabric, the shape of it, and then I'm going to stitch around it. No, I better wait before I stitch. I'll stitch the bottom, and then I'll flip it back over, and then I'll stitch here. Yeah, that's what I'll have to do. I'll stitch this part. I think I'll do that first, as a matter of fact. I'll stitch that, then I'll cut, and then I'll put this together, and then stitch the envelope back together again. So that's what I'll do. Okay, so I have that stitched on there, and so now I'm just going to come through, and I'm just going to cut the excess into the shape of the envelope. Well, if I can get it. I'm going to use my embroidery scissors. Some things these scissors do better than the other scissors. These are my absolute go-to scissors. I love these things. So now I'm just going to take this little piece here and kind of trim like in a circular motion, and then just take that excess off of there. Do the same thing on this side. May have to draw a line where you cut it at. And then I'll just knock that down, pull this out, and then just cut that off. And then I'm just going to glue these down. I feel like it'll make it more sturdy. So, okay, I'm just going to fold this over. And then I'm just going to stitch the sides. Okay, and then I'm just going to take some random stamps and just stamp one here. I'm going to use some black ink. This Ranger archival ink. I love this. And I'm just going to randomly stamp. And then I think I'm going to use blue ink on this 755. I want to use some of this Distress Oxide ink, just Broken China. And that's good enough because it's just enough color, not too much, you know. And I guess I could stamp on here too as well. I should have got my stamping block, but I didn't. I just grabbed the stamps and the ink. I like that. I love stamping on fabric. I don't know what it is. It's just something about it. I'm using leftover ink that's on here. And I'm even going to see if I can get part of his image on here. It's going to look weird, but I just want to see. I like that. Yes. Okay, so, and then I'm just going to go ahead and, since I'm at it, go ahead and put this little date stamp. Let me just get my stamping block. Alright. It's kind of busy, but I think it'll work. It'll still work. So we have our first envelope. So I'm going to set that to the side. Now we're going to get started on our next one. Okay, so now we're going to start on this one. And I've already started peeling off like my address. And we're just going to sand some of this information off. Especially the date. We don't want them to know that this is from modern day time. Okay, so we have a similar situation where I ended up getting a hole. So I'm going to try to disassemble this too. Now this has like chipboard as a backing, which is fine. So we're going to have to disassemble this. And hopefully we can get it to work again. If not, I can, I'm just going to stitch it anyway, so it's fine that it looks kind of rugged. Okay, so we're going to add just a piece of craft cardstock or just something to cover that up to make this a little more sturdy. I'm just going to go around the edge. This is my first time using this glue, this Craft Bond, Elmer's liquid glue. So far so good. I'm impressed with it because it even adheres the fabric together. So it's a good competition if you don't want to spend a lot of money on art glitter glue or barely art glue, which are the two that I've typically, well, I've always went with art glitter glue. I've only used barely art glue just this one time, but as you can see, I'm almost out. If you can see that or not. But yeah, I'm almost out. So I had to get some more glue, and I'm just looking around trying to find different ones that aren't going to cost an arm and a leg and your firstborn, you know. Okay, so we're going to try to glue this back together again. I may as well just use this same glue and see what we can come up with. Well, at least have that there. Let's see how this works. I'm going to be covering this. I may cover this with something else anyway, so I'm not going to stress over it too much. What I think I'll do, I'm going to leave it kind of rugged like that because it really makes it look old, you know what I mean? So yeah, hold on, I think I will take this loose. I forgot what year I even purchased this stencil, but I've had it for a while, and I have a tendency when I buy things, I leave them in their original package. I don't know why I do that, instead of just like taking them out and sitting them somewhere or whatever, you know, but I don't know, leave it to me to do that. So yeah, because I'm going to be stitching this together anyway. So, well, hold on, let me get this right here. I'm just going to go ahead and stitch around this and around that part right there too. And we're going to see what we can do. I might take that. Let me take that recycle off because I don't know if they had that back then. I don't think they did. I'm not sure. I haven't researched when symbols came along. You know what I mean? So we're just going to take that off. Alright. Now I'm just going to go ahead and stitch, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here it is stitched up. And it looks a little jacked up, but I mean, that gives it its character, that makes it look old, you know. And we can still keep some of the original stuff that's already on here, you know, that stamp, airmail, things like that. So I don't want to overdo it on this side. I may just leave it as is and then flip this side over because it does need something right there. And create some type of closure. I should have did that before I stitched this up. I can still create a closure right in here some kind of way. But I'm going to use, what is this? Hip Stamp Hooray. It's like a world kind of map stamp. We're going to use that, and then the Graphic 45 Argyle script and Argyle stamp. And we're going to use the script part of it on there. And I'm just going to randomly do like I did with the Tim Holtz. The other one that I used, where did I put? Was Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous, the Professor 2. That was the stamp that I used. That set right there. So this one's Graphic 45. And then I'll get my archival ink back out again. For some reason, this doesn't really show up all the way. I mean, I like it like this as far as like just having like a hint of it. But if I wanted the whole entire image, for some reason, maybe it's because the papers aren't level or something. I don't know. Let me just try it again on this side. Because I do want to have some type of stamping going on over here too. Just to see. That'll work. I don't want to overdo it on this side. But this definitely needs something else. So, I may use the blue world, the Hip Stamp Hooray. I might use blue ink on it instead of black. Or I may use a combination of both. That shows pretty good. Alright, then we need something here in the middle. I may put a pocket on there or something. No, I want to just leave it in its original form. So I may stamp something else on. I think I'll stamp this one here. I may stamp and emboss this one there actually. Let's see. Alright. Oh, I got this stamp for like $1 at the Habitat thrift store. I love coming across deals with that and some other stuff. So yeah, I am going to emboss. Wet emboss. I'm almost out of detail embossing powder. So here's this one. It's kind of plain, but it works, you know. Like I said, I've got to find something to hold this in place. So what I'll probably do, I'm just going to take the scrap paper. Let's move all my stuff out of the way. I've got clutter all on my table. Let me just kind of show you. Clutter, 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 clutter. So yeah. But yeah, let me just go ahead and trim this. And I'm just going to turn this into like a closure, a tuck-in closure, and hopefully that'll work. We're going to see. I'm going to add this on here, and then it's going to tuck into something right here. I'm going to create something for it to tuck into. I have some words left over from one of the Secret Agent digital kit that I have on my Multimedia Crafts digital Etsy shop. So I'm just going to use one of these words, and we'll see. I'm going to add it to some black cardstock and then to some white cardstock and cut it out. And then we're going to create like a little closure to go down here on the bottom. Or I should, no, I'm going to have this up here at the top. Yeah. Get a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to put this here. So this is one of my behind the doors journal that I've been working on for forever. Oh, I should have put this up underneath. So, Okay, so I'm just going to add on something. I know I'm only supposed to just stamp and pretty much use the natural stuff, but I need something right here. So I'm just going to use this little piece of ephemera that came from the Secret Agent kit. So I need that in order to make this look right. And all I did was just fussy cut this out and back it onto some thick cardstock, so that when this goes down in here, it's thick and it's not going to tear each time this goes down. So I'm just going to glue this on. And this is pretty much it. So we've got this, and where did I put the other one at? I put the other one in here because it's going to go with this journal. I'm still working on it. So we've got these two so far. Now we need to work on these two, which are going to be super duper easy. This one's going to be the easiest of all. Basically, all I'm going to do is take, where did I put my sanding paper at? So I'm going to see if I can just basically sand this label off, completely off. And this right here, I'm gonna stamp both of these around the same time. Hold on, let me get this right here. This right here, we're gonna have to fix. We're gonna have to fix this right here. So we're gonna disassemble it. Get the super glue. And we're going to get some regular glue. Make sure this stuff stays. I'm going to take this all the way to the window. So I want to make sure it's sturdy. And we're just going to cut it. Oops. And then I'm just going to distress it. I'm going to glue this down over top. And I'm not going to have anything, I'm not going to add anything on this side, because this is what's getting decorated mostly. And then I'll probably leave that as is too. So I'm going to stitch around the edge, and I'm going to stitch around here. And I'm going to do it around the outside of the envelope. Okay, so we've got this stitched. And even though that shows through there and it's kind of jagged, I still like it because that adds character. Oh, I need to fix that. That's horrible. Hold on. Alright, that'll work. So I stitched along here, which is just right below where the fold line is. So we're still going to fold it on that line, on the fold line. Oops. But I feel like having that stitch there supports that crease. So, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to be doing some distressing. And you can use whatever you have to distress, because I've used a combination of this vintage photo, and I've also used, if I can find it, it's my other one's hidden around here somewhere. It's under all my clutter. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But whatever brown you have, or whatever color you want to use, doesn't even have to be brown. You can use blue, black, whatever you want to use. I'm just going to go ahead and get this. Kind of wish I had my other one. Let me find my other one. This is the one, the walnut stain. I love this. Love, 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 love this. I love the other one too, but this one, like on darker colors, they show it better. But my black soot, not black soot, but the vintage photo, it works pretty well on like your lighter color papers. So that's why I do what I do. And that's why I like this one for my darker papers. I don't know, maybe I should put something back here, because it does look kind of bare. I need like a contrasting color, something kind of light. You know what I could do? I could do the opposite of what I did with this one. Instead of having the fabric on the outside, I could put the fabric on the inside, which I think I will. And I have a piece of, let's see, I only need just enough for it to show. So let me just kind of cut this down. I got this, I think, from Walmart. And I found a scissors, small embroidery scissors. Okay. So let me just go ahead and see how wide. Doesn't have to be too wide. And then cut to about right there. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have a fabric inside, a fabric lining. And it's not perfect, but that's fine because you're only going to see through the window. So that's the main part. Alright, so I'm just add a little bit of glue to hold this in place, and then I'm going to stitch it on. I quit dropping every little thing. Okay, so here this is stitched up. And this is our inside. I like that. So we can do a little bit of stamping on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do some stamping, random stamping on this and on this. So we'll probably use some of the same stamps that I used on the other ones. So I'm just going to clip like 4 of these and make it thick. And then I'm going to glue them together. And then I'm just going to punch a hole in this with my crocodile. Let me try to center it. Okay, so I've got my eyelet. Okay, and then I'm going to get an eyelet, create like a closure. So I'm going to stick this through here. Well, first through here, here. And I'm going to create a binding. This is going to be able to, let's see, this is going to go around like so. So I need it to be somewhat kind of tight, not like super duper tight, but somewhat kind of tight. So I need to make sure. Now this is elastic, keep in mind, so I don't want it too tight. So I'll just go ahead and cut it about right here. I'm going to send this one down through there as well. Hopefully that'll work. So both of these have to go in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this. And then tie it again. Alright, so this is going to come through here. And I am going to go ahead and add some glue. To hold this in place. And then I'm going to put this eyelet in here. Okay, so I finally got that through there, and so now we're just gonna put it together. Alright, I'm just gonna tie this again. Or better yet, I'm just gonna glue it down. And I'll put something over top of this just to kind of make sure this stays in place. I may stitch around the edges of this to make absolutely certain that this doesn't come up. That's probably what I'll do. So I've destroyed my sewing machine. I don't know what I did, but it just won't sew right. And I'm just like over trying to figure out what I did. So what we're getting ready to do, we're getting ready to draw in some stitches. If it'll work. I might have to put some X's on it or something. Because I'm so over it. Have you ever had crafting moments like that where nothing goes right? I mean, just nothing goes right. So I'm just going to do that. Take my ink pen and just make some X's. And maybe I might even do a little embossing around it. And I'll be back. So this is pretty much it. I don't think it's too bad. I mean, it's a little shiny, but it looks like a stitch, kind of, sort of. And then this right here is going to close like so. I'm just going to wrap that around. And then you've got your closure. And then that's what these 4 envelopes look like, you know. So I think they turned out okay. Let me back up so you can see a little bit. Okay, so yeah, that's what the 4 of them look like. You've got this one, tucks down there, flips over. Got this one, got your fabric on the outside, flip page on the inside. And I just showed you this one, front and back. And you got this one. And you got your fabric on the inside. Oh, I hope it didn't look okay, good. Yeah. So, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Check out my blog and my social media sites. And as always, I thank you guys so much for watching.